Good morning, everybody, and okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Monday morning. And on a very special treat, it's my mom's birthday. You know, growing up with someone who is challenged with mental health and depression and anxiety and exhibits, narcissistic behaviors is tough enough. I can't even imagine how challenging it's been for my mom to be so grounded and so balanced. My folks have been married for 50 plus years, and today is her birthday. And I was born on her 30th birthday, and so she's getting up there now, because I'm getting up there now too. So one of the most beautiful things that my mother taught me is that when people are struggling with mental health, when you're angry, and we had several people with mental health in my family, when you're angry, when you're punishing, when you're retaliating, when you hold on to that resentment, when you stay stuck, when you want to get back at somebody, which is the natural, normal, familiar, just, fair, perfect thing that you should do. It's only right. However, it's not going to work to anybody's best interests. If you don't know who I am, and you want to know who my mom is, my name's Rita Aiken Hickman. My mom is Irene Aiken. And I'm a body-mind specialist and a shiatsu massage therapist. And I help women who are struggling in narcissistic relationships or trying to heal from narcissistic relationships, and how to reclaim their soul and get back on the right path and get their health back and find their voice and get their energy and clear their head and really move forward into the chapter of their life where they are the best version of themselves that they can be. And my beautiful, beautiful mother had lessons for me in that all along. So in my household, my mother didn't fight, which probably came down from the temperament of her family. But she was also a closet feminist. Fun woman, teaching us how to rebel in the smallest, most fun ways, while also knowing how to get along with people. And that's kind of a fun way to live life. It's a life where you respect yourself and you also respect other people. When we need things to be fair, when we're reeling from a narcissist, when we're reeling from an attack, when we're angry, when all of those wounds come up, when we're sobbing and crying and in a very difficult space, it's not good for us to repress those feelings. Absolutely not. But you should know by now, if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, that not having reign and control over your own feelings, trying to punish them, trying to make them see, trying to get them to understand is never going to work, and typically will work against you. If you do have a narcissist in your life that you want to keep, the best bet is to focus on learning how to be happy inside of yourself and treating that person with as much compassion. And compassion isn't pity, compassion isn't enabling, compassion is tough love plus easy love. Compassion is looking past the behavior to the person and the deeper intention that's underneath. And most people who struggle with narcissism, it's a mental health disorder. Most people that we put in that narcissist box, they're toxic, they behave badly. Past their behaviors is a desire to not be as awful and icky and mean and heart-wrenching and cruel and horrible as they can be. It's how they react to how they feel. And it's not appropriate, and it causes a lot of damage, but it's still how they're trying to react to how they feel. The only thing that's ever worked with narcissists in my life is to be authentic. One of the biggest blocks, and I know this whole, well, if you're angry, Rita, isn't that authentic? It is, but it's authentic to me. It's authentic. It's me telling me the truth. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm hurt and frustrated. How do I want to handle this? And underneath that hurt and that frustration is the sadness and the desire to connect and the effect. So some people counsel that when someone is in a relationship with a narcissist, that they should always go something called gray rock, where there's no response to anything. And I would like to suggest adding a couple more steps. You know, when a narcissist is in the middle of their emotional meltdown, you know, and you happen to be the person that they are taking that meltdown out on, it's very smart for you to find a way to get out of the situation, because they're not in their right mind. They're in fight or flight. They're in the middle of this big emotional upheaval, and they don't handle it well. They've got control, but it's at a razor's edge, and that's why it's directed at you. And so when they're in the moment, it's not a good idea. But after the moment fades, after they start to come back to balance because their emotions have been purged a little bit, I've discovered through lots of my relationships, lots of my toxic relationships, and with my dad and with the other narcissists in my life, that the best next step, if they're going to stay in your life, if you're, you know, not going to turn around, walk away, and never speak to them again, if they're still in your life, either as an ex or as a relationship that you've decided to stay, a current, as a parent, as a child, whatever it may be, the next best step is to let those people in your life see how this is affecting you. Now, at the very beginning, they're not going to believe it. They're going to get mad. They're going to blame you. They're going to point fingers. But until we start bringing out these secrets, the things that are most damaging is not the pain. What's most damaging is when we hide the pain. When we give ourselves permission and we feel safe enough that no matter what they say, it's okay. When we feel safe enough to let ourselves share the hurt that has been caused, the tears and the sadness and the worries and the anxiety, that vulnerability that I know you don't want to share because you figure they'll use it against you the next opportunity that they get, and they may. But when you can be vulnerable in a safe way, because you're not expecting anything from the other person, because you don't want anything from the other person, when you can be vulnerable and you care enough about them to let them see the consequences of their actions, to let them feel how their actions affect people, when you start being more authentic in that way, that's what creates change. If change is possible, that's what creates change. Not the victim protection, you're a bully, you did this to me, you know, that's best dealt with a therapist or a coach. But when you do this is how it affects me, and I'm going to show you. You don't even have to tell them in words. You can just show them the grief and show them the sadness and be authentic in your space. Now, it's very true. It'll make them feel guilty, which will, you know, cause them to feel irritated. And they already possibly feel guilty because they blew up and now they're trying to hide it and, you know, and don't want to take responsibility, or they're making up for it or to get what they want, whatever. All sorts of little mind games. But the only way we're going to move forward is by authentically showing how we feel. And the timing is key. You will know when the door is opened, when it's time for you to share how things have affected you. And when you do this, you're planting seeds. And then when you're not around, those seeds will grow. They'll see it in other circumstances and other situations. Now, if you think I'm full of crap, then in some situations, absolutely. You know, from the very beginning, there are many people that it's not worth being in a relationship with. It's way too much work. They have way too far to go. And no matter how authentic and loving and wonderful you are, it's not going to make a difference. However, for the people that matter to you, for the people that you want to keep in your life, that have great value to you, it's important to help them move forward and to heal. And the only way to do that is to be authentic and vulnerable. Even in relationships that have ended, I've got a client that walked away from a physically abusive and threatening relationship. Her husband was a cop. They had 2 kids. You know, he threatened her with a gun. When she left, she made a point to encourage him to be in the lives of her kids. And now that her kids are an adult and he's an adult and time has gone by, he's got that relationship. Their kids, you know, her kids accept themselves. They're able to see, you know, the love that their dad has given them. That has caused a healing. You need to be above your victim. You know, it doesn't mean you ignore your victim, because it's absolutely pain and torture and heart-wrenching. But dealing with that with the narcissist, dealing with that pain, that anger with the narcissist will not work for you. They're meaner than you. They're sneakier than you. They don't care, especially when they're triggered and upset. But what does work is that consistent authenticity, where they start to realize you're not trying to punish them, you're not trying to get back at them, you're not trying to screw them over. You're letting them authentically see action, consequence, the effect of their actions and the compassion you have for them and the desire you have for the relationship to move forward, no matter who they are. Parent, spouse, ex-spouse, children, doesn't matter. And you get to decide the degree of the relationship you want. You don't have to let yourself continue to be victimized. But that place of authenticity instead of punishment, in the right time. You know, you got to time it well. You got to watch for the door to open. Watch for when they're conciliatory. Watch for when they're more relaxed. And that's when you express your truth. You don't always have to express your truth in the moment. And many times, because you're responding, you know, in a volatile situation, it just causes everything to explode. But when you do give yourself permission to express yourself, to wait for the perfect time or a good time for you when you're ready, then you can express that. And it makes an impact. It plants a seed. And it may take a while for that seed to grow, but it does grow. The relationship with my dad has blossomed. The relationships with my narcissists have blossomed. They still struggle with the things they struggle with, but much less so, because they don't feel so isolated. They don't feel so ashamed. They don't feel so cut off from everything. And they understand that someone has compassion for their struggle too. As I said, it doesn't mean you re-victimize yourself, and it doesn't mean you don't walk away, and it doesn't mean that you don't respect yourself and your feelings. This is another level of respect. This is a level of respect that goes back to unconditional love of yourself and respect of yourself, giving yourself permission to express what your pain, your sadness, and have an authentic dialogue with the narcissist. Because a narcissist in their mind feels that they had an authentic dialogue with you, that they shared exactly what they felt and how they felt and what they wanted to do about it and how it was your fault. And, you know, they expressed all of that. They were very authentic and very truthful. Many times they pride themselves on that truthfulness. So it's about picking the time when they're open to seeing a truth, when they're open to seeing the effect of their behavior, you know, and as I said, the first few times there's usually, you know, backlash. It takes a little bit, but after a while they start to trust, because that's the issue, right? Insecurity and trust. And so if someone is valuable to you, you give them a sense of security and you give them a sense of trust and a sense of compassion by showing them what's going on deeper inside of you. Okay? So if you want to start making shifts and changes in your life, it's not about punishment. It's not about taking the person with the mental health disorder and locking them up. And it doesn't mean that every person deserves your time and effort, because if it's more than you want to handle, that's your right. It's more than you want to handle. But if you decide that you want to handle it, this is one of the important steps to start being more authentic in the relationship, not from the anger point and not when you're in the middle of the drama, but when the timing opens up. Okay? So you can thank my mother for that, for understanding that there's an ebb and a flow to authenticity and truth, and that they're necessary if you want to help the people that you do love, if you want to help them move forward from whatever distance or whatever way that you can. Okay? So here's your homework assignment for today. I'm not going to ask you to do anything because it's way too scary, but I am going to ask you to take a few minutes and visualize what that might look like. What it might look like to express your feelings authentically. And it might be terrifying for you. And it might be overwhelming, and you may run away in the opposite direction, and that's perfectly cool. But visualizing is the thing that gets it set into your brain and body about how you're going to handle it. And it helps you get over those emotions until you're ready to be the person that can be vulnerable to someone who is very uncomfortable. they're uncomfortable in themselves and they're uncomfortable for you. But when you find that level of strength and balance and grace, then you can help the people around you move forward and heal too. Okay? So happy birthday to my mother. I hope you have an amazing day, Mom. I hope everybody has an amazing day and a great week. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.